hea esineja. Tema nimi on Merrill ja tema on innovatsioonikonsultant ning innovatsiooniteemaliste raamatute autor. Ta kirjutab oma viimases raamatus Innovatsioonigeneratsioon, kuidas arendada ettevõtte innovatsioonikultuuri ja innovatsiooniprotsesse. Ta on ka innovatsioonipraktik, kes peab väga oluliseks just nimelt inimese kaasamist. IBM-i 2010. aasta ülemaailmne tippjuhtide uuring näitas, et muutused maailmas toimuvad üha kiiremini ning ohud on aina vähem ennustatavad. Väljakutsetega toimetulekuks on määravaks kompetentsiks just nimelt loovus, kreatiivsus. Loova käitumise all aga peab Merrill silmas enda vabastamist seni õpitust, raamidest väljapoole astumist, mõtlemist ning koostööd, veel kord, koostööd inimestega, kes uute lahenduste nimel on valmis eksperimenteerima ja ka läbi kukkuma. Aga nüüd, mul on au, I have a great pleasure, Peter, to give the floor to you.
I'm going to talk about change, not so much on ourselves, but on the people around us. If you look at the change that's going on, it's coming from many different directions. The marketplace is changing. We've talked already about the effect of China and India as their economies grow. As a result of the technology that we're developing, we're all living longer, which is good. We're enjoying life far more. And that technology that we're seeing around us means that our lives are different today from what they were even 5 years ago, let alone 15 years ago. Just think, 20 years ago, email hardly even existed. Can you imagine that? Our lives are dramatically different. And let's not forget one other dynamic, and that is the environment in which we live is changing, with forces way beyond our ability to control. And in fact, it's that word control that I want to just pause at. And I want to repeat a quote that has already been made this morning. It's very important in the context of what we're talking about today and tomorrow to understand the full meaning of this quote. It's not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that's where my focus is, responding to change. Not trying to control change, but understanding it and responding to it. A couple of years ago, IBM published their biannual global survey of chief executives. And in the 2010 survey, the prime conclusion that came out from talking to something like 1,500 chief executives around the planet, small, medium, large enterprises, diverse businesses, the prime conclusion was that threats and opportunities are coming at us much faster and far less predictably than at any time in the past. And what was happening as a result of that increased speed, that greater complexity, was that they were having to deal with complexity as an issue that was rising on their agenda. And just to pause and explain what I mean by complexity, because it's a word that we see all the time. What it means is many parts in an intricate arrangement. And I'm not going to dwell on what complexity means this morning, but there are many good books out there. Probably the first one I ever read was back in the 90s, a book called Chaos by Gleich, G-L-E-I-K. Now, that is a very well-written book, and if you want to understand complexity theory, I suggest going to that. But one thing that came out of that book that I think all of you have come across is a thing called the butterfly effect. You've all heard of that. And the actual phrase in the book says, a butterfly flaps its wings in Singapore and causes a hurricane in the Caribbean. What it means is that change will occur in a small, insignificant place and lead to change where we are in ways that we have no comprehension of where they came from. And so what these chief executives said was, dealing with this kind of world, if we try to control it, we'll kill ourselves. What we need is a very different kind of mindset. We need to be far more creative in the way we handle this complexity and this change that we're dealing with. And they saw creativity as actually the most important competency that existed in their organization. And they said creativity isn't something that we have just in our research or R&D people. It's something we need to have in our entire organization. Creativity. And so when we talk about creativity, what we are looking at is the ability to create new ideas through imagination and unconventional approaches. You've heard the phrase, stepping out of the box, going into a different kind of environment. And that occurs when people have freedom. And we talk a lot about freedom, and a lot of it, I'm afraid, has been taken away from us. What we need is an environment in which people have far more freedom and far more ability to interact with new stimuli. That opportunity has been taken away from us in large part because of the work environment in which we operate. And in the quality profession, I have to say this, we have been guilty in the last 10, 20 years, because of our focus on efficiency, we have removed creativity from our worlds. Now, I remember a couple of years ago, and just as a point of information, I do a lot of work in the world of ISO. A couple of years ago, I was speaking in Mumbai, and when I finished speaking, a gentleman came up to me and said, you know, and this gentleman's company, a large company, they make rocket ships and submarines. Anything that is made of steel and is round and is long, that's what they do. And he said, you know, since we put in our quality management system, we have become very concerned about the loss of creativity in our people. 4 weeks later, the other side of the planet, I was in New Orleans, giving a similar kind of talk, and afterwards somebody from the US Navy came up to me and said, you know, since we put in our quality management system, we have become very concerned about the loss of creativity in our organization. Identical statements, 3,000, 5,000 miles apart on opposite sides of the planet. It really stopped me in my tracks and made me think, you know, quality management systems carry a lot of the guilt here when it comes to loss of creativity. And it doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. You don't build them out of concrete. You build them out of people that are flexible. So that's where I'm going to go now.